How's it, everybody? Welcome to the Umpire's Call. My name is Alistair, and in today's episode I'll be discussing and reviewing the currently being played Rugby World Cup 2019 in Japan. Now, this board that you see here, ladies and gentlemen, is the most recent up-to-date results that we have from all the games that have been played so far, with Italy and Canada being the most recent game, and the updated tables that we see over here. Now, what I've got on this table over here is I've put the games not in the category or the chronological order in which they were played, but based on the groups in which they are grouped together in. So over here we'll have, for example, the Group A matches, and then on the table over here we have the position in which they are currently on the log. Starting off with the first game was played, obviously, was between Japan and Russia. Traditionally, the host team will always play the very first game of the tournament. And as we can see here, Japan beat Russia 30 points to 10. Now, this is not to be an unexpected result, simply because we know Japan, who have beaten South Africa before in the last World Cup, came out on top against Russia. They have a rather strong unit, although most of their players, quite frankly, are either Australian or South African. But needless to say, a good result at the end of the day. Of course, in the second game for Group A, we had Ireland versus Scotland, in which Ireland beat Scotland 27 points to 3. Now, this was not an unexpected result as well, but the scoreline was more of an expected result that I would have anticipated, because although Ireland are the number one team in the world and they are an immensely strong and talented and experienced unit, Scotland themselves has some decent players too, and Six Nations have shown that they can put up far more points than just 3 against the likes of the Irish. So although this was not to be expected, I was very surprised to see that they were not able to put more points on the board, and hopefully they'll be able to do so in games going forward in the Rugby World Cup. And then the last game that's been played in Pool A so far is that between Russia and Samoa, in which Russia got 9 points and Samoa got 34. Again, not to be unexpected at all, but Samoa are a very good unit. They've got big, strong Polynesian players who are quick on the ball, have got experience having played in other formats, club rugby across the world, and therefore got the result that they needed. So that was absolutely fantastic for them to get the win over Russia as they did. Quickly having a look at the board for Pool A in respect to the points table as it stands, we obviously have Samoa on 5 points, Ireland on 5 points, Japan on 5 points, Scotland on 0, and so is Russia. Now, just to let those of you who do not know, obviously a win counts as 4 points when you win a game in the pool stages, and any bonus point you get over and above that will count for 1 point. So, for example, with Japan beating Russia by a heavy margin, the same could be said for Ireland, Scotland, and Samoa over Russia. Each of the 3 teams then got an extra bonus point, and then they stand equally on 5 points apiece. Now we get to Pool B, and this is a game I'm going to spend a few minutes speaking about. New Zealand versus South Africa, in which New Zealand beat South Africa 23 points to 13. Now, guys, this was not a result I was hoping for. As I'm sure many of you are who are South African supporters or Springbok supporters would have hoped for very much the opposite result or opposite scoreline going in the favour of South Africa. But nevertheless, it did not. And I have to say, guys, I was very disappointed by the way South Africans played. For the first 20 minutes, the way the Springboks played was fantastic. We had pressure on the ball against New Zealand, and we were getting the job done. Ball in hand, strong at the rucks, and then we pressed forward. But by the 20th minute, we made the silly ball handling errors. And of course, it led to then the tries being scored by New Zealand. It was just so frustrating to watch Faf de Klerk. I do not know why that man is playing for South Africa in the starting 15 and why he was allowed to play for as long as he did in this particular game. He was atrocious. One of the main reasons why we didn't win this game. It was unacceptable. Quite frankly, unacceptable from a player of his quality. Herschel Jantjies should have come in by half-time. I mean, the amount of box kicks that Faf de Klerk made was just, it didn't make any sense. What was his game plan? What was the strategy he was trying to achieve? Because that was one of the reasons. The other reason why South Africa did so poorly was our first time tackles against New Zealand after those 20 minutes was appalling. How many line breaks, broken tackles and meters gained were the New Zealand players able to make against our defense as the game went along? It was frustrating to watch. It was horrendous the way we played this game. I can't understand how we got that. We probably had a training session with Fiji after they'd gone against Uruguay, which we will discuss in a few minutes. But this game was just a performance by South Africa that was unacceptable. We could have and should have beaten New Zealand, or at the very least gotten a draw with the team that we had. And of course, we waited forever to bring on our subs. Now, whether or not Rassie Erasmus purely did that because he wanted to wait as late as possible to bring in fresh feet so that we could maybe do a counter-attack, I can't really blame him on that idea though, because of the conditions in which guys are playing in. It's very hot, it's very humid, guys get tired very easily. But the New Zealanders were able to bring on fresher feet sooner, and they were then able to utilize it to the best of their ability. And I mean, it's just the only really good player, apart from one or two guys up front, was Handré Pollard, who made a fantastic drop kick in the game, and his kicking was on point. But where else? Where was everybody else? It was It was just, it was unacceptable. It was so frustrating the way these guys performed. They could have and should have done better. And I really hope that Rassie Erasmus sees the mistakes in the team, particularly with the likes of Faf de Klerk, and replaces them. I mean, Pieter-Steph du Toit scored a fantastic try. That guy's rugby smart. I tell you, he may not sound very smart when he speaks, but he's brain smart, rugby smart, and he really knows how to play rugby very well and able to do so. I mean, Cheslin Colby, what a brilliant performance from him. Again, another problem we had. The guy would get the ball, he would blitz down the field as he does because he's a winger, and there's nobody to support him. He would then not be able to offload to anybody, pass to anybody, and therefore the New Zealanders would be able to bring him down on the ground, pick up the ball, and then counter-attack as they do. And we know this. We've played the New Zealand team, the All Blacks. We know what they're doing. So why are we giving it away? I mean, for Scott Barrett to score a try, come on. And not just like Pieter-Steph, where he was able to just run 5 meters and jump over the line. This guy ran at least 15, 20 meters. And we couldn't stop him. Mapimpi doesn't take any proper tackles. When he brings someone on the ground, doesn't release his hands, so we get a penalty. And I mean, look, I am an umpire myself, so I know that being a referee and umpire is one of the most thankless jobs you get. You're always the first to be blamed and the last to be thanked. And Rassie Erasmus, in his professionalism, didn't want to blame the umpire for the game, but a referee. But I have to admit, the referee made mistakes that cost us. At one point, he said it was a knock-on when Pieter-Steph du Toit received the ball, knocked it backwards, but he said it was forwards. How on earth do you make that kind of mistake? He was not like he was on the other side of the field. No. He was just a few meters away. Oh, man, I don't know. And this now becomes a problem because if South Africa finish up second, which they have to do, well, that means we're going to play Ireland. And they're the number one team in the world. Look how many points they put up against Scotland. And Scotland are a decent team. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see, though, how that's going to land up. Of course, then we had Italy versus Namibia, in which Italy put up a really good number of points of 47-22 against Namibia. Of course, you know, Namibia, small nation rugby, they don't really play much rugby, or at least against teams of this quality. So for them to lose is not unexpected. And then the recently concluded game that just before this video was started was Italy versus Canada, in which Italy beat Canada 48-7. Now this one again, of course, Italy are a strong team. They do play Six Nations rugby. Canada doesn't play any of the international quality rugby that these teams do. But I was expecting Canada to put maybe up another try against the Italians. I mean, they are fairly decent players. They've got some experience there. So to see that, not unexpected, but I was hoping more from the Canadians, though. We know they're not going to get past group stages, but at least put up a fight when you can. So having a look at Group B after these fixtures have been played, of course, we have Italy on 10 points with 2 wins and then 2 bonus points gives them 10. New Zealand are on 4 points after their win against South Africa, and Namibia, and of course Canada are round up the bottom 3, each on 0 points. Now, something for those of you who didn't know, and we'll begin to in a moment when you have a look at this table here, is that points difference is a big factor when it comes to the points and the positions on a particular table. Points difference is vital, and that's why, for example, when you see over here, which we'll be getting to now, why is it that Argentina have 1 point but are below USA who have 0? It's because they have a negative points difference from the results they've got, and that's why they do here. So if you see it positioned the way it is with regards to Samoa, Ireland, Japan each being on equal points, Samoa has a greater points difference than Ireland, and Ireland has greater points difference than Japan. So yeah, that is Group B. Going on to to Pool C, we have France that played Argentina, in which France beat Argentina 23-21. And I did mention to you guys, and I've said this before, even with my videos, if you haven't seen them, with regards to the Rugby Championship and of course the start of the Rugby World Cup. Argentina, despite the fact that they had really poor performances in the Rugby Championship against New Zealand, South Africa and Australia, I did mention that they're not the sort of team that you can count out when it comes to World Cups. They have time and again shown themselves to be the team that can perform well when need be, particularly in the Rugby World Cup format. And this result here, I think, is a clear indication of that. Yes, they did lose to the French. Again, not unexpected result because they're performing well, but to lose by only 2 points to France. Only 2 points after the results that they had in the Rugby Championship just goes to show that they could pull out some big surprises when they play the likes of England and, of course, Tonga and the USA going forward during the course of the Rugby World Cup. So definitely keep your eyes open for them, though. They are going to be a team that may put out some surprises there. But a good result for France at the end of the day. They are a strong unit and big players, and they've got some speedsters with great experience. Then the second game that was played was England versus Tonga, in which England beat Tonga 35-3. Again, Tonga maybe could have put up a little bit more, couple of more points against England, though, but the result was exactly what we were expecting to see, with the points difference not too dissimilar from what we see over here, though. England, as I've mentioned before, are a good, strong team. They've got Eddie Jones as their coach, oodles of experience in the World Cup format, and really does know how to put good teams together, and just experience that these guys have from the Six Nations rugby and club rugby they play across the world. Well, I mean, what else can you expect? So from those two games that are played, we have then Pool C. England are top of the group, top of the pool with 5 points, then France on 4, then USA, Argentina and Tonga again, USA on 0 points, Argentina on 1, and then Tonga on 0. And I did mention just before on this group here, Argentina have a bonus point because they're within, I believe it's 5 points of the opposition, because they're on 2 points west, so they get a bonus point. But because they were beaten and USA haven't played yet, they had a minus points difference, and USA still were on 0, so therefore they are a high position. I don't really understand why they would do this, though, because points should be the sole would be the main difference as to why teams will qualify, but you can go have a look at the rules and see the tables yourself with regards to this particular pool and how the points work there. Then rounding up the last group Pool D, we had a game Australia versus Fiji, in which Australia gave the Fijians a pretty good hiding at 39 points to 21. That again, Australia were going to win. I mean, I did mention they would go through, probably in second place on the pool because, well, they're just stronger than the rest of the guys. And Fiji, they have been, you'll see this game, which we'll talk about now, which they lost. Didn't think that Australia would do quite so well, though, because they didn't do that well in the Rugby Championship. But, they won. And that's what we expected to do, and good for them for doing that, though. I'm sure if they build more momentum with the players they have, they're going to progress further into this World Cup. Further than South Africa, I hope not, but we'll have to wait and see. Of course, then we had Wales versus Georgia, in which Wales beats Georgia 43 points to 14. Yeah, that was absolutely what I was going to expect from them, though I wouldn't have been able to give the exact scoreline, but the sort of points difference here is nothing more. I'm actually quite surprised in some respect that Georgia, who again are a very inexperienced team like the Canadians and the Americans, to put up 2 tries against the Welsh. That's going to give a lot of teams in this group and further on during the tournament a lot of confidence if they know that the Georgians can put as many as 2 tries past the Welsh defence. Keep an eye on that, though. The Wales are going to have to work on that, though. Of course, Mike Gatland is a fantastic coach, and Wales have won the Grand Slam with him. And Gatland, being a New Zealander, a native New Zealander, will obviously, I'm sure, this team will be able to bounce back very well and then progress further into the World Cup. And then the last game, again, which I did not watch, but I did actually watch the highlights for, was Fiji versus Uruguay, in which Uruguay beat Fiji 30 points to 27. Very, very interesting. I think the biggest upset of the World Cup thus far, unless of course the South African, in which you would have hoped them to beat the All Blacks. But this game, from the highlights I saw, I have to admit, Fiji hugely let themselves down, hugely disappointing from the first time tackles they had. They probably had a training session with South Africa, because South Africa and Fiji played the same way. They just let guys go right through them. They did not to get the guy down on the very first tackle, and then and then not be able to stop them gaining meters. Though it was just, I mean, some of the tries that the Uruguayans were able to score was fantastic, though. But they were able to push the Fijians, who are big, strong Polynesian men. They are just fast. I mean, some of their props are huge. Have you seen the thighs on some of those guys? They're huge. They should be easily able to stop these smaller Uruguay players, but they didn't, and it's because I don't think they just had the impetus to go ahead and really tackle the guys. I think the Fijians went into this game thinking, oh, it will be an easy win, they'll get a couple of points on the board, they'll do well. And they did not take into consideration how badly the Uruguayans wanted to win this game and how willing they were to do everything that they could. And what was great for the Uruguay players I saw is that they did what so many teams forget to do in tournaments like this: keep to the basics. Play your game, make sure your basics are done properly all the time, and it becomes very difficult for any team to beat you if you keep to your basics in rugby. And that's what they did, and that's why they were able to come through it, though. Of course, a little bit of flair here and there always helps and gives your team the advantage, but they kept to the basics, and that's why they were able to beat Fiji. Now, of course, Fiji will be able to bounce back from this no problem, but for them to lose is going to put a huge dent in their confidence and of the fans, and possibly on the points table, which we'll be having a look now. So to round up the Pool D and the positions in the respective log, we of course have Wales on 5 points, Australia on 5 points, Uruguay for their win on 4. Fiji then have 2 points for their bonus points for being as close as they were to for the game that they won and then the game that they lost. And then rounding up the bottom of the table was Georgia on 0 points. So guys, this is how the table looks now as far as we are in the tournament. As you can see, we're still very early into the tournament, so this will change quite a bit as the weeks go along. And of course, when I update my next video, we'll then see where the teams stand of the performances that they achieve from the games that have been played. Otherwise, guys, yeah, so this is how it looks for now. I hope you did enjoy this video. Please do hit the like button if you've enjoyed this video. Remember to to hit the subscribe button if you've enjoyed the videos I've uploaded so far, and to remember to get your notification bell on, that you'll be automatically reminded for all videos that I'll be uploading in future, particularly related to the Rugby World Cup. Otherwise, guys, have a good day. Cheers.